It was around 1:19 a.m. when the plane, with 239 people flying from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, made its last spoken contact. They said, "Good night, Malaysian 370," and everything seemed normal. At 9:30, the captain confirmed the air traffic controller's instructions to head towards a waypoint on their route. But soon after, something very unusual started to happen. The control center in Marseille noticed that the aircraft was flying at about 30,000 feet, which was nearly 2,000 feet below its planned cruising altitude, and it was still dropping. When Marseille reached out to ask the crew what altitude they were supposed to be at, they got no reply. In the following 30 seconds, they attempted to contact the crew 2 additional times, but still no answer. At 9:34, they switched to a different radio frequency, hoping to get through, but there was still no response. Between 9:35 and 9:39, the control center made several more attempts across various frequencies. The French air defense system and another nearby aircraft also tried to make contact, but there was no response from Germanwings Flight 9525. Finally, at 9:40, the radar lost contact with the aircraft. During a tense situation, French air traffic controllers declared an emergency. Recognizing the dire situation, for everyone aboard Germanwings Flight 9525. At 9:41 a.m., the unimaginable happened. The plane crashed into a mountain in the remote Alps. The crash site, unreachable by road, forced rescuers to fly in by helicopter. The scene was heartbreaking. The plane shattered into countless small pieces scattered across a vast, rugged landscape. Amidst the wreckage, the voice recorder and flight data recorder were found within a week, though they were both badly damaged. As investigators carefully examined the data, they uncovered a shocking truth. The crash was done on purpose. The plane was hijacked by someone you wouldn't expect, not terrorists. Let's go back and see what happened. Right after the plane reached its cruising altitude, the captain stepped out to use the bathroom at 9:30. Moments later, inside the cockpit, the co-pilot changed the plane's altitude. When the captain tried to re-enter the cockpit at 9:34, he found the door locked and couldn't get back in. Standing outside, it began to dawn on the captain. The co-pilot had taken control of the plane. After the 2001 changes, cockpit doors were designed to be extra secure to prevent hijackings, allowing only crew members to enter with a special code. Normally, a crew member can call through the intercom and enter a code to open the door, but the pilot inside can override this and lock the door permanently, which is exactly what the co-pilot did. Despite having emergency codes to open the door temporarily, the captain was helpless because the co-pilot had overridden all access from outside. As the plane started its descent, at 9:39, the sounds of the captain trying to break down the door were recorded on the cockpit voice recorder. Despite his desperate attempts, the reinforced door held strong, leaving the captain locked out and powerless. The cockpit door, reinforced to block even armed hijackers, left the captain with almost no chance. In those final moments, everyone on board, passengers, crew, and the captain, knew the plane was doomed. Tragically, all 150 lives aboard were lost, including a whole class of students returning from a trip to Spain. The captain, 34-year-old Patrick Sondenheimer, a father of 2, fought valiantly to regain control of the aircraft. In his honor, his wife later established a foundation aimed at helping children and young adults cope with grief and crises. An experienced pilot, Patrick's final efforts were dedicated to saving everyone on board. The co-pilot, only 27, had dreamed of flying since childhood. His bedroom was adorned with aviation posters, and he was a skilled glider pilot from a young age. He enrolled in Lufthansa's flight academy right after school. However, a few months in, he paused his training due to a severe depressive episode. undergoing treatment and psychiatric care. Though he was eventually deemed in remission and returned to flying, he was under strict instructions to stop flying if his psychiatric issues returned. While applying to a Lufthansa-operated flight school in Arizona, required by the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, he falsely claimed that he had never been diagnosed with any mental health disorders. This lie was eventually uncovered. Misrepresenting oneself on FAA documents can lead to serious consequences, including potential jail time or the end of a pilot's career. However, the FAA decided to give him a second chance after he admitted to his struggles with depression, allowing him to continue his training in Arizona. From February to March, the co-pilot gathered several sick notes from different doctors, showing he was struggling and needed a change. Just 4 days before a tragic event, he looked up how to lock the cockpit door of an Airbus A320 on his computer. On a flight from Dusseldorf to Barcelona, while Captain Sondenheimer was briefly out of the cockpit, he tested the plane's controls for lowering altitude. On their return flight, he purposely used these controls to crash the plane. This terrible incident raises an important question. How could this happen? Pilots go through detailed health checks every year, but these often miss mental health issues. They are supposed to monitor their own health and report any problems, but this system relies on them being honest and can miss serious issues. Although his doctor had found him unfit to work, the co-pilot didn't tell his airline, which led to a deadly outcome. Doctors can break confidentiality to report a pilot if they think he poses a danger to public safety. So why didn't any of the doctors who knew about his mental health problems and had said he was unfit to fly report him as a danger? The reasons are complicated. The doctors might have thought he was only a danger to himself, not others, because being depressed doesn't necessarily mean someone will harm others. They might also have been worried about the consequences of breaking confidentiality. Moreover, Germany's strong privacy laws might have influenced their decision, as these laws strongly protect individual rights. The question of whether to break doctor-patient confidentiality in such cases is a complex issue, often discussed by medical and ethics experts. As you're watching this today, it's crucial to remember that incidents like this are extremely rare. Following the tragedy, the European Aviation Safety Agency introduced several new safety measures. They improved psychological evaluations for pilots, and many airlines implemented a rule requiring 2 people in the cockpit at all times, although Lufthansa has since stopped using this rule. Before the incident, in 2015, Germanwings was renamed Eurowings. Ultimately, Lufthansa compensated the victims' families, but questions remain about whether the compensation was sufficient. The families have endured losses that money cannot possibly mend. In reflecting on such profound events, it's important we keep the conversation going to ensure the utmost safety in aviation. What are your thoughts on the changes made since the tragedy? Feel free to share your views and continue the discussion below.